Hello everyone, Azortharion here, and in this video I'm going to go over the best spec for the first week of patch 11.1 before the season actually begins. Whether you're trying to get cutting edge or just want to have some fun this week, here's my brief take on the specs you may want to play. So what I've done is I've run some sims here, but they're pretty fast and loose, so I just took the season 2 BIS profiles, scaled their item level down, and swapped their tier set bonuses to the current ones. So it's not perfect, like it's not fully, down to every last 0.5%. But it gives it's close enough, and it gives a pretty good general picture of the best specs for this week. I'll probably also do a similar video to this one for season 1 when that is going to drop next week. So before we pick apart the numbers, I just have a few announcements. I have updated the Icy Veins Hunter guides for patch 11.1 for all 3 specs. So no matter what spec you can play, you can just go to Icy Veins, classes, and these are all fully updated. So they have talent builds, rotations, BIS lists, best trinkets, pretty much everything you could want to know for every single hunter spec you can find right here. And I keep these updated all throughout the patch, basically every single day. So every little nuance that comes up, you can find in there. I have also updated Azor UI. So this is like my optimized hunter UI, which has pretty much everything you need for like every kind of hunter min-maxing needs. It has all of the little min-maxes and nuances for like rotationally, like weakguards that help you play optimally with the new patch 11.1 mechanics, and also weakguards for every single trinket in the new season. So the idea is that you just install this weakguard pack and you have at all times everything you need to know to play hunter optimally. And just finally, thanks to my patrons, you can find a link to that up at the top left of your screen. And my patrons basically support everything I do here and make it possible. And if you do join up yourself, you can get access to this UI and some other perks and some hunter coaching as well. All right, so without further ado, let's hop into the numbers here. So starting out with single target, it's looking like survival, at least on pure single target, gained like just the buffs and to everything related to flanking strike really did it huge favors. Like this is probably one of the highest simming specs in the game for this week for pure single target. And it kind of leaves everything else completely in the dust. I mean, there's not really an argument here. What's also interesting is that even in its raid AoE build, which sacrifices some of the more powerful single target talents, it's still right up there among the top single target performers. So for this week at least, survival is an absolutely insane raid spec for like getting cutting edge. So if you're a hunter and you're currently trying to get cutting edge on Queen Ansarek and you're already playing survival, which many of you were, then all you really have to do is, go to Icy Veins, grab the new build, which is Sentinel now. Survival no longer plays pack leader, and you're kind of just golden. You're just gonna do tons of damage, and yeah, good stuff. Between MM and BM, for those of you who prefer the range specs, it's pretty much dominantly MM here as well. So, and of course now you don't really have to worry so much about Sentinel, the circle, because that now moves with the boss, so that's not so much of an issue anymore. It seems that with the current tier set instead of the new one, which is quite strong, BM is just not really all that hot this week. Which I know will disappoint many of you, but that's what the numbers seem to indicate, at least currently. Alright, that brings me onward to, well, I've simmed AoE here, but it will also give us some idea of Mythic Plus, and here it looks overwhelmingly marksmanship. I mean, marksmanship does close to 30% more AoE damage, or 40% technically, depending on which way you do the math. 40% more AoE than any other spec. This is 6 targets though. I've also simmed, let me find that, 10 target AoE, because you might be thinking, yeah, like MM is good AoE, but what about when you go beyond its target cap, which has now been reduced to 6? Well, it's still pretty darn good. Obviously, the gap shrinks considerably to survival, which has many uncapped abilities, and to some extent BM as well. But MM is still massively dominant here. And if we go back to looking at the single target sims and we look at the Mythic Plus builds only, so I'm just going to do M Plus here, and you can see, so survival has the most single target in its AoE build, but it's not by that much. It's by like 3% over MM. And once again, BM is a little bit weak here in the beginning of the patch. Yeah, pretty much consistent story there. So like, yeah, survival does have more single target in its AoE build, but it's not by that much, and it's way behind in terms of AoE. And if we open up this sim and we check the numbers more closely that I've run, and we click this for burst, we can also see MM has the, I expect to have the way more bursty DPS profile, which is generally the optimal sort of DPS profile that you want. In fact, survival is not really bursty at all. It's quite far behind in terms of burst. MM, as we know, its burst AoE is sort of its thing, right? So that's worth keeping in mind. Another element of Mythic Plus performance is going to be priority target damage. So this is basically just while you're doing AoE, how much single target are you also doing? And actually MM is like right near the top here. I mean, Pack Leader Survival does this really well, but Pack Leader Survival in general is just extremely weak. Pack Leader Survival is, where is it? It's all the way, let me see. Yeah, it's significantly behind Sentinel and Plus here in AoE and on single target, where it's also something like 10% behind Sentinel. So yeah, MM is just massively dominant in Mythic Plus. It has the highest priority target damage by a significant margin, the highest AoE by a completely bonkers margin, and it's only like 3% behind survival on pure single target Mythic Plus build. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's fairly straightforward. So summary, it's basically for raiding, survival is ideal. It has the highest single target and solid AoE as well. For the range specs, it's pretty close between MM and BM, but MM is going to be stronger for the raid for the first week here. And remember, this is only the first week. And then for Mythic Plus, it's basically no-brainer Mythic Plus. Highest AoE by a massive margin. Highest priority target damage, which is quite surprising. And the close to the highest single target in Mythic Plus build as well. So yeah, but of course, I mean, the content doesn't, unless you're trying to push for cutting edge this week, it doesn't really matter that much. I mean, there's not going to be super competitive Mythic Plus or anything. So, you know, you could just ignore everything I've said here and just play the spec that you're most excited about. Because of course, everything that I've talked about here is completely irrelevant in a week when the season actually begins, and I'll make another video for that. And you know, you may wish to bounce around the different specs this week a bit and try different things. But yeah, that's been pretty much it. Like, comment, subscribe. Please check out my Patreon, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Heck, where's the stop recording? Oh, there it is. Bye-bye.